Hi guys, I think I'm live now. Um, there's just a few. How are you doing? Uh, good to see you again, even though it's in this one-way sort of fashion. There's a few things I wanted to say um, about your presentation uh, coming up. First of all, it is due next Friday. It's not due tomorrow. Um, so in lieu of that, as I was checking your notes, I noticed that a lot of you had not read to the end. And, being that this is due next Friday, not tomorrow, a little over a week, I would really encourage you to read until the end because it may well change your conclusions. It's going to affect your judgment of these characters and their identity quite a lot. Because it's a big ending and it matters a lot to the way that we read and understand the characters and the story and what it is the author is trying to say about the characters and their identities. Um, and it's going to kind of tell, in your presentation itself if you haven't read the end. So I don't know how close you may be, but whether it be over the weekend or what have you, I'd really encourage you to finish it out. The reading, the reading of it. Um, uh, Also, and this doesn't apply to the majority of you, but if you're not reading and if you're trying to do this off of Spark Notes or some sort of online source or another, don't don't even submit it because it's already going to be plagiarism category, not authentic to you and your thoughts and observations. It's not even worth it, your time or mine. But that's that. So one of the so getting more specifically into the presentation itself. I want to talking about your thesis statement. Your thesis statement, which is your opening line, if you were, in a courtroom and a lawyer, be your opening statement. Like, this is going to be not a question, it's going to be an assertion. It's going to be you making a claim about your position and what it is you're arguing in this presentation. So, it shouldn't be asking the question, is, are the characters' identities free in play in Streetcar Named Desire? It should be making a direct assertion, something like, I believe Stanley's character and who he is and his identity is free in the play Streetcar Named Desire. And I believe that for such and such a reason, and it's that position that I'm going to defend in this presentation. That's an example of what your thesis statement could be like. Or oppositely, it could be, I believe that such and such a character, Stanley, Blanche, Stella, are unfree in who they are, in their identity. They're trapped. I believe that because these qualities show up time and again in the play, and that's the position that I'll be defending in this presentation. So those two models are going to be kind of really close to the thesis statement you're going to want to have. You're going to want to pick. You're probably going to want to pick one to be most specific about your attack, your argument in this presentation. You can talk about all the characters, but that's just a lot harder. I would discourage that because you'd have to be a lot more clever about what you think the author is doing in the whole of the play, and then how that reflects in each of the characters. That is a potential argument, but I'm just saying it's going to be a little bit harder to wrestle with, to wrangle, to put together. A little bit easier to focus on one character and that character's dynamic in terms of are they free? Do they make themselves? Or are they sort of trapped in their identity by their circumstance? Okay, so on. So, and now I want to just talk a little bit more specifically about the notion of identity, because on one hand it's a simple concept, but on the other hand it's deep, it's a little bit packed. So I want to talk about that a little bit more specifically. So, identity, where you see yourself, what makes you who you are. One example that I've used talking with one of you guys over the last week about this notion is you guys know Sam Bernstein off commercials, right? The lawyer. Maybe you've seen a few of his commercials from his law group, and if you've noticed, like, all of his children are lawyers. He's got a daughter, 2 sons, all lawyers. They're all part of like Sam Bernstein Law Group now. Sam Bernstein evidently influenced his children. This is now their identity. This is now how they define themselves, how they see themselves in the world. It's how the world sees them. In every way, it's become part of their identity. Now, part of the question we're asking, like for this presentation, is, were they free in creating that identity? Well, boy, their father was it. It seems possible. Now, we're not reading the play of Sam Bernstein. We're reading Streetcar Named Desire. But if we were, you could make an argument that Sam Bernstein was a controlling influence in their lives. Therefore, they became less free to create their identity or who they were. So this is one thing we think of when we think of what are the things that control identity. Oftentimes it's people, often like parents. That's not it, though. Sometimes situations create your identity, what you think about yourself too, your environment. We talked about sometimes the street you grow up on defines whether you've become a hustler or whether you've become involved in gangs, and those things become your identity. If that street was in a particularly bad neighborhood or something. Sometimes it's situations too. A lot of things that create the way you see yourself. If I were a woman that were raped, this would probably have significant effects on my identity, see myself, and the way I then judge myself to feel free or trapped. It becomes a mindset that people can get trapped in. That becomes matter of identity. So identity is shaped by many influences. People, yes. Parents, sure. Your environment, yes. Where you grew up. And even events, situations, experiences. All those things can really form your identity. So you are going to be really judging those things where those things are taking place in the play and how they're interacting with those characters' identity. Again, 3 main characters really: Blanche, Stella, Stanley. Those are probably the people that you're going to see the biggest things with when it comes to identity. And so on the other side, okay, all of us are influenced by all those things. Okay, we're all influenced by our environment. We're all influenced by the people in our lives, parents, siblings, etc. We're all influenced by the experiences that we've had, be they beautiful experiences or traumatic experiences. Now, how do you judge if a person's is free of those things? I think the key indicator is change. Is a person able to change? Because we all come from a context, a certain circumstance, Let's say that same person who grew up on a bad street in a bad neighborhood, kind of came up a hustler, and involved with gangs or whatever. Let's say at age 19 they have a baby. Let's say the years tick by, 2021, this person realizes, I got to step up. I got to be responsible for this kid. Give them love. That person decides to make a change. At which point they have ripped themselves from their former identity in order to create a new one. That is a power that they had in creating identity. That lends to freedom. When you talk about how does a person have a free identity, then it's in having the ability to make those wholesale changes in their own life in terms of who they are, who they want to be, and how they want to see themselves, and how they want the rest of the world to see them. Do they have the options, the willpower to make change for themselves in their own life and how they're seen? So, I mean, I know that you are in the midst of working on your presentation. I just wanted to add a little bit to help keep this idea clear about what we mean in terms of identity and what it means to be free or what it means to be kind of unfree or trapped in terms of your identity, how you see yourself, and how other people see you. So that is that. I see there's been a few dropped frames as I've been filming this, so I hope that hasn't interrupted my meeting too much. But again, this is going to be due next Friday. The presentation as a whole. If you have any questions till then, again, my number is on the announcement, this page on Google Classroom. Several places throughout, so just find me there and send me a text or give me a call. Hope you guys are well, and we will